Baltimore weathered the storm in pursuit for justice and peace. Joining us today is Dr. Peter Bielenson, founder and CEO of Evergreen Health and former health commissioner of Baltimore. Welcome, Dr. Bielenson.
Thanks for having me.
I want to know what your reaction was when you started seeing all of this unfold. I know you teach a class at Johns Hopkins about The Wire, which really addresses the problems that we saw explode the other night.
Right. I think the disparities between the two Baltimores have been going on for so long that I'm actually surprised that the frustration hasn't boiled over before this. So I'm not terribly surprised, particularly with the impetus of the Freddie Gray case.
And what happened was we saw all of these issues bubble out of the places. You know, people started talking about poverty and policing, and so what is at the core of some of those things that you saw as health commissioner and you see now?
The bottom line is we kind of use a paradigm in our Hopkins class of the four-legged stool of a healthy community, a successful community writ large, and they are the need for decent public education, affordable housing and safe neighborhoods, healthy foods and health care available to people, and most importantly, livable wage jobs available and accessible to adults in a community. And Sandtown and too many other communities in Baltimore don't have those four components.
A food desert is a huge thing.
Right. And so the bottom line is we have a choice here, the bottom line. We have a choice to allow things to go back to normal, which frankly, things are already sliding back to normal. The curfew's over, the National Guard is leaving, people are stopped the peaceful protests. Basically, things are kind of getting back to normal, and city leaders and politicians want that to happen. But normal is not appropriate or not the correct way to be for many people living in Baltimore, and we cannot allow things to get back to normal. Unfortunately, that's probably the way we're going to go, but I think the time is now to make the choice to actually comprehensively invest in our communities and try and get the four legs of this stool in place throughout Baltimore. And if we use that opportunity, if we use this opportunity to make that choice, then the riots will be beneficial.
It's not money that's going to come necessarily from the government.
No, and frankly, I think there's enough investment already in terms of dollars, in large part. It's really how we adjust them, how we use those dollars. So, for example, to bring livable wage jobs to these communities, why don't we have a Home Depot or a Lowe's which has livable wage jobs in large part, hires hundreds of people in parts of Baltimore City? We have none of those types of large companies. We don't have a Target in Baltimore City except for Canton. Mondawmin, which has been a problem. But yes, we should be bringing more of those businesses which bring hundreds of jobs, most of which are livable wage jobs with benefits to the communities. And we can do that by tax incentives, by incentivizing companies to hire people from the community and to locate in the community so that these livable wage jobs are available, because far too many people in the inner city areas of our city don't have access to cars, and the transportation system isn't terribly good.
Let's look at the Sandtown, Winchester area and what you know about it in terms of poverty. Let's break it down in terms of what's happening. You've got, there's poverty, probably children are not, who knows if they're in school, what the quality of their schools would be. Tell me, explore that for me.
Yeah, so there's 72 square blocks in Sandtown, Winchester. I actually know it well because when Mayor Schmoke and Jim Rouse launched the Sandtown, Winchester initiative back 20 years ago, a sizable amount of money came into that area, including with the Empowerment Zone funding. So again, I think the funding is there. What ended up happening was housing was renewed, the Nehemiah housing. Not too much was done on the schools. Not too much was done in terms of health care, and there still aren't livable wage jobs there. So you have one leg of the stool. That stool will not stand. We need to invest in a comprehensive approach. And the other thing that we absolutely have to deal with in terms of the police-community relations, and look, I can't, I'm a white guy from North Baltimore. I can't claim, despite the fact that I spent a lot of time in Sandtown with needle exchange in many parts of the city, I can't claim at all to say how the police are viewed by the community and vice versa. But the war on drugs that we've been fighting for 70, 80 years is killing these communities because it sets up an automatic confrontation between the police and many young folks in those communities, whether or not they're involved in the drug trade, that sets up cynicism and confrontation that leads to these kinds of things like Freddie Gray. And we've got to deal with the war on drugs, deconcentrating poverty, and bringing livable wage jobs to these neighborhoods.
Have we tackled the war on drugs? I mean, where are we on that?
Frankly, my former boss, Kurt Schmoke, was prescient or prophetic 25 years ago in talking about decriminalizing and medicalizing the war on drugs. In other words, for people who are possessing drugs for personal use, decriminalize that. Stop arresting people on marijuana charges. Stop arresting, as we did 10 years ago or 7 years ago, 100,000 people, 20% of the cases for which did not stick, basically on low-level charges. Get them drug treatment, which A, gets them off the streets and out of committing crime, and B, turns them into productive citizens. We've got to do what Mayor Schmoke was talking about 25 years ago, and we haven't gone anywhere from there.
The community lost a major place to get their